G'day, howdy, good morning, good afternoon, take your pick. My name's Dennis Turner and I put together these What's New and Neat in N-Scale video podcasts. Generally, I do them once a month at the end of the month when Mico Trains make their monthly announcement. Unfortunately, or fortunately, at the end of July, around about the 3rd of August, I went on holiday to the UK and I flew out around that date, and I flew back around about 3rd of September. Between packing, the stress of the journey, and the whole 9 yards, it just was impossible to put together a podcast either at the beginning of August or the beginning of September. So we're now at the beginning of October and we're going to try and catch up. So my apologies to my loyal subscribers and anybody else who watches these podcasts. Hopefully we're now back on track and we may even manage to add some additional podcasts. For those who are new to these podcasts, they are predominantly about N-Scale products. There are plenty of YouTube videos on how to do this and how to do that, and there are quite a few videos on testing new products and product reviews. So the purpose of these videos is to alert you as to what products are coming, what products are arriving, and stuff you can buy that relates to N-Scale, which you may have missed. We also give you hints on or ideas of where you can buy and where you can buy at good prices, and also where you can actually just plain find stuff, because it can be very difficult to find certain types of N-Scale products. Some are available year on year. For example, most of the stuff that comes out of Germany is always available if you know where to find it, whereas most American stuff are done in short production runs where you either have to order in advance or you've got to be pretty darn quick the moment the products hit the dealer's shops. So that's partly what we're trying to help you with. So if you like, do the thumb, and if I would certainly like more subscribers, but we've been at it a while and we're growing. So thank you for your support, and now let's get on with the show. Okay, let's get up to date. We're on the N-Scale Supply website, and we'll start with the August Mico Trains new releases, many of which I'm afraid will be sold out by now. Okay, Heinz 57 cars, Union Pacific poster series, some double sheafed cars, Husky Well cars, Union Pacific heavyweight horse car in two-tone grey, Comrail Union Pacific dome tank car, some Pennsylvania coach car, and some runner packs. Okay, I'm not going to go into the detail of the stuff down the bottom because it's often repeated, like this Christmas train set gets repeated by N-Scale Supply every month, I'm sorry. So if you're interested in more detail, go on to the N-Scale Supply website. Okay, moving on. Now we'll worry about announcements rather than arrivals. So back in the 2nd of August, Athern announced some 50-foot FMC boxcars. Okay, moving on down, going through arrivals pretty quickly. Okay, arrivals. Okay, so very few announcements. But I'd have to say that very little has actually happened since July. July was a good month, June was a good month for new product, but August and September have been very dry. Maybe it's because they're all at NMRA and N-scale conventions and just haven't had time to announce much. But it's certainly been a very quiet couple of months. Okay, September new releases from Mico Trains, Heinz, some more well cars, the Union Pacific Express baggage car. Now you can see or can't see the writing on that is just about invisible. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I think it's an error. The same thing happened with the observation car a couple of months ago, and the following month it came out. It was re-released with the correct writing and a new part number. So something's obviously not going right with these two-tone grey baggage cars. So I don't think you're going to see that for a month or so. Certainly hasn't appeared in the shops yet. So okay, also that's a new car, a Denver and Rio Grande 36-foot steel caboose. It's pretty famous in as much as well, I'm not sure why it's famous, to be honest with you, but a number of companies have produced it, and it's number 1400, which was the very first in the series. And I've already got at least one or two cars with numbered 1400, so now we've got another one. So, but it looks a nice caboose just the same. I've ordered it. It will arrive in a week or two, I think. Okay, dispatch stock car, outside braced box car, a Union Pacific Armour Yellow coach car, some containers, Union Pacific runner pack. I bought that as well as the caboose. They look quite nice. I think they're 50-footers. And then the various odds and ends that are announced every month. So moving on down into, we're still at the end of August, and we have more arrivals. We have an announcement. A Thurn, oh no, that's the 50-foot box car, very similar to the one they announced the previous month. I think prior to these announcements, a Thurn hadn't announced anything since about the 26th of June, I think was their previous announcement. Right, these are all arrivals. Okay, Kato have announced a Santa Fe Super Chief. I'm pretty sure that's a rerun, but it's an announcement of a rerun. Also the F7 A and B to go with it. Woodland Scenics have delivered their rustic water tower. We have some weathered cars which have arrived. Okay, still arrivals, and we've got to the October Mico Trains. So other than a couple of Thurn cars and Mico Trains, of course, it's been a famine for the last 2 months. Nobody has announced much. Interesting. Disappointing, but interesting. Okay, Heinz 57, another car in that series. Another in the UP World War II poster series. A Micro Mouse car. New York Central car. You notice there's no Union Pacific two-tone grey car announced this month for the first time in 5 or 6 months. Then we have a Great Northern bi-level auto rack, a Swift, a dispatch stock car, express car, which looks quite nice. Rock Island hopper, Pennsylvania boxcar, and then containers, the runner packs, and the Christmas specials, etc. So that's that is it's in a very short order. All that's happened as far as N-scale supply is concerned in the last 3 months. So didn't miss much, I'm afraid. Okay, that's the end of this segment. Halfway through August, while I was on holiday, N-scale enthusiast of all people made an announcement that there'd been a closure of a factory in China, and as a result they would not be able to deliver on some of their promised special runs. Rather than me burble on about what I've heard, I'm going to read from this magazine called Cowcatcher, which seems to have a fairly fairly good article on what's happened. So according to them, a factory in China that manufactures model trains was closed, leaving some US model railroad companies seeking a new supplier and facing delays. Intermountain, Atlas, Bowser, Fox Valley all announced that some new locomotives and rolling stock would be delayed or cancelled because of the unexpected closures. None of the companies said what products would be delayed. Other companies, including Trainworks and Exact Rail, are also affected. At least one manufacturer confirmed that Hong Kong-based Alpha Technologies closed. Now, I don't know whether that's the same outfit as they were talking about, because I always thought that most of the model train stuff was actually manufactured in mainland China as opposed to Hong Kong, but these things are clouded in secrecy. Anyway, in an open letter to modelers, Intermountain said that their company had been caught off guard and will not have new product for an undetermined amount of time. We'll come back to Intermountain. Right, our expectation is that we will begin shipping a selection of new products within 4 months. Atlas posted on its website that it is working to transfer incomplete projects to other suppliers. Bowser said on Facebook that it was looking for a new manufacturer. Fox Valley posted on Facebook that the company has used the factory for a large number of products and it's not clear when production will resume. Okay. So it caught Fox Valley by surprise, as they'd recently received paint samples for new projects. Okay. So Intermountain said that purchase orders with other vendors are already being arranged. I find that a bit hard to believe. According to Kevin Rubel at Caboose, as many as 9 US manufacturers were affected. Well, that sounds about right. Okay. So that's the big announcement. So we now need to go on and have a look at Atlas and Intermountain. We haven't seen much from Fox Valley for quite a while now, so We don't know what we're missing there. But Intermountain, I do know. I have a pretty good idea of where we're at, because they're I had everything at my fingertips, of course. Now they're not at my fingertips. Here we go. Intermountain. Okay, now if we do what I normally do, which is a search on F3 to get through the rats and mice and get to the locomotives. If you have a look at this production schedule that we look at each month from Intermountain, you will find that nothing whatsoever has changed since June. The F3s are still confirmed for production. The F7s are the same. There are FTs and what have you. Now, I wrote to Intermountain and asked them if the F units were involved in the closure, and they said sure they were. So I've been waiting for 4 years for a number of F units in DCC. It looks like, my guess is I'm going to wait a 5th year. 4 months delay in Intermountain speak, I think, is pretty close to 9 to 12 months in real time. It still hadn't, even before this happened, these products were a long way from actually being in production. They were only confirmed for production. So I didn't expect them to be produced until, well, round about now, I suppose, October. So I'd say we'll be lucky to see them by October 2019. So that's the situation with Intermountain. Very disappointing. It's not their fault, obviously, but it's still very disappointing considering how many years we've been waiting for some of these products. And they have an awful lot of products that they've announced. Now, Atlas, my understanding is that Atlas N-scale are affected significantly. Atlas HO is not affected. Can't tell you where I got that from, but that's my understanding. Now, if we have a look at, there's not much point looking at their delivery schedule because it's going to say the same. So, if we have a look at, no, this isn't going to help us much easier. Oh, I know where it is. It's over here. If we click on, here we go, new announcements. Let's see if there's been any new announcements. Okay, June and July. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that June and July is what we looked at last time. So we just look at June and July N-scale pre-orders. What have we got? Other than a delay. Here we go. Okay. All right. The RS ones are new. I wasn't aware of them. They haven't been mentioned on N-Scale Suppliers website either. But these guys would definitely be involved in the closure problem. But then on the other hand, if Atlas get themselves up and going quicker, and they've probably got the most experience of dealing with China, and they've been at it longer than most, so if they can get themselves up and going, maybe it won't be too bad. But so there we go, we've got some RS1s, quite a few RS1s. Trinity covered hopper, some a dash. a Dash 8-40, more Trinity hoppers, more 840s, more 840s, more 840s. So, undecorated stock car. Quite a few. Now, these 40-foot stock cars were announced back in June, so that's product we were already aware of. Now, I can tell you these passenger cars. You may be aware that some passenger cars did arrive and were shipped probably April, May, quite a while ago now. But there are quite a few road names, including Rio Grande, undecorated, Central New Jersey, Milwaukee Road. You see the pre-order down the right-hand side. Okay, now the ones that are sold out, Boston and Maine, they're the ones that arrived back in April, May. Now, the pre-order ones, I actually did write to Atlas and ask them whether they were held up in the factory closure, and the reply I got was that they were already in a container and on their way to Australia. That was 5 or 6 weeks ago, but containers move in mysterious ways, so let's hope that they're still coming, because I want several of them. So mixed situation with regard to Atlas, but it still doesn't look good. Certainly a bad situation with regard to Intermountain. I will be doing a special podcast just for Australian, or mainly for interest to Australian modelers, sometime probably later this month, in which I'll be showcasing Australian manufacturers and retailers. However, this is a quick update for Australians who are concerned about being charged 10% goods and services tax on their imports from abroad. The reality is that Amazon, in their wisdom, have refused to ship to Australia from the United States or from the UK, and are forcing Australians to buy only from Amazon Australia at outlandishly high prices, and worse than that, a lot of product that was available through the US store is now no longer available. So that's very disappointing, but I think Amazon have just taken the easy way out. Instead of adding GST to shipments out of the US, they've just said no shipments. I don't know what's happening with eBay, but I suspect I suspect that GST is being added to eBay. But with those two exceptions, I am not aware of any other retailers around the world charging GST to Australian purchasers. Hattons in Liverpool, these guys announced at the end of June that they would be charging it. I was told last week by a retailer in Australia that they definitely were charging it, and all UK retailers were charging GST, and that as a result his sales had increased and everything was wonderful. Well, I placed an order with Hattons that evening just to test the waters, and Hattons shipped the product GST free, as well as VAT free, of course. So it's a fur fee for the moment. There's no way that the Australian Tax Office can tell an overseas supplier that they've got to collect tax for them. It's quite unprecedented. Doesn't happen with other countries. If you bring stuff in your luggage from a trip, you're allowed $1,000 Australian dollars, duty free, GST free. So you should be allowed the same for imports by parcels. So just business as usual. Now, while we're on the subject of Hattons, whilst this is listed as an OO product, it's really an all scales product. It is card sheets of what's the best way to describe it? The surface is asphalt or tarmac, and they are ideal for roads and paths. And apparently they're according to some sites I've seen, they're very popular. So they're available from Hattons, and so if you need to make some roads, it looks like a very interesting product. I'm going to order some later this month. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about GST and Hattons. For the last segment of this podcast, we'll look at what's actually in stock and available for you to buy. For that, we use the Model Train Stuff website, which I've found to be the most useful website, certainly the most sophisticated that I'm aware of, and their prices are second to none. So I recommend that you go onto their site if you want any products that are actually in stock, as opposed to pre-ordering. I've selected the last 90 products that they've purchased, and we're going to look at in-scale and multi-scales. So if there's any magazines or scenery items or anything that's new, that should appear as well. Okay, Mico Trains ship outside of their regular monthly announcements. Their specials, in this case, there's a Halloween ghost train set that they've shipped. Unfortunately, the quantity in stock is disappeared from this particular page. If I hit the product itself, then I'll find out how many they've got in stock. But it doesn't show it here. It only really matters if we're down to one. If they've only got one left in stock, buy it quickly. It's the advantage of being the internet. Once you've clicked on it, paid your money, you've got the product before anybody else. It's a bit like a sort of auction, except that you can't control the price. Right, moving on. Cotton Belt, SW 1500, Norfolk and Southern, and then we've got a weathered auto rack, a weathered hopper, boxcar, all weathered. Then some product from, quite a bit of product from Tangent, wheels, metal wheels, but they're 36 inch, whereas most people are looking for 33 inch, but they're there. Then you've got lots of Tangent hoppers, so we'll sort of fast forward through them a bit. Whoops, gone too far. So, right. Then we get to a Thurn combo boxcars, a fair number of them. And then after that, there were a number of 65 foot 6-inch mill gondolas. And then the long-awaited tank train. Anybody who follows Ken Patterson will have heard Ken and his mate Mike on their weekly podcasts mention the Athern tank cars. I think they're also in HO as well as N. And it looks a nice product. It's relative. It's too modern for me, but it looks a nice product. It's quite different. As you can see, the two tank cars are joined together. But so it's a bit of a unique product. So well worth having a look at, and they're available ex stock. Okay, so. Moving through, they're mainly GATX, they're lease cars. Then we come to Athern's old time cars. I was trying to think of the company earlier that they purchased that originally manufactured these cars. It was oh, tip of my tongue. Roundhouse, got it. It was Roundhouse. All of these old-time cars were originally produced by Roundhouse. I don't know whether the painting's improved, but the main difference between the Roundhouse cars and the Athern is that the Athern have got knuckle couplers, whereas Roundhouse were Rapidos. So you've got some old-time cars, and we'll go to the next page. I've got one of the original set of the passenger cars, and it's quite a nice set. The first set, it is a set of 4, and then it's a set of 1. So I'm not sure why they do that, but that's what they do. So you can get 5 cars. So then we've got some magazines. This is a good source if you want to get N-Scale magazine or N-Scale Railroad in, except that if you don't have any other products that you want, it gets a bit expensive because unfortunately Model Train Stuff decided that they would impose a $24 minimum shipping charge, and that means that it's a bit expensive for a couple of magazines. Unless, of course, you live in the States, in which case you could probably get it at your local newsagent anyway. So then there's some Carmark videos. So then you've got the Oxford die-cast Cortina. I had a look at them when I was in the UK. They're a UK company. Oxford produced a very large number of cars. Unfortunately, only the Cortina looks like an American model, so that's all I bought. I was disappointed. I was hoping I'd find some more products that could fit an American layout, but it doesn't. So then we've got an SW 1500 with Western Pacific, Mico Trains horse car, station, and Kato SD 70s. Okay, some Mico Trains centre beam. These are stuff left over from the September announcements, Mico Trains announcement. And there's the Rio Grande caboose in 1400, stock car, and then we're on to the SD 40-2s from Broadway. So we'll call it a day there. That's the end of this podcast for turns out the months of August, September and October seems to be a very disappointing period in terms of new announcements and new products for N-Scale. I don't think it's got anything to do with the closure of the factory in China. I think that's going to dampen things down for the next 3 months or more. But the last 3 months have just been quiet. Maybe they've just been busy going to all these conventions, NMRA and N-Scale enthusiasts, etc. But anyway, for whatever reason, it's been a quiet couple of months. So I suppose the good news is that you've got more money in your pocket, ready for the onslaught when more product arrives. Anyway, thank you for listening. Give it a thumb up if you like it. Subscribe, that's even more important. And we'll talk to you in a few weeks' time. Thank you. Goodbye.
In 1842 I left the old world for the new, bad cess to the luck that brought me through to work upon the railroad. To work upon the railroad. In 1843 'twas then I met sweet Biddy McGee, an elegant wife she's been to me while working on the railroad. In 1845 I thought myself more dead than alive. I thought myself more dead than alive while working on the railroad. In 1847 sweet Biddy McGee she went to heaven. If she left one kid she left 11 to work upon the railroad.